So I think that is lethal. And we pull him over here. Nocturne levels up. All of our units get fearsome. He can't block anything. He has no mana. That should put him to like -20. Hey everyone, Raptor Spank here. Today we have another episode of On the Grind, the show where I cover a deck I'm playing in Ranked. I'll break down the deck, a couple of flex spots, and some basic mulligans. Then we'll put the deck through some ranked matches and review how we do afterwards. This episode we'll be checking out Nightfall Aggro. The deck is looking to run our opponents down using large aggressive units with evasion. Then we use combo pieces like Doom Beast and Fading Memories to drain our opponent out to close out those last points of damage. Unlike Bilgewater Burn and Discard Aggro, our units are larger and we have access to basic life gain. Let's look at the champion package. This starts with 3 copies of Diana, the 2-cost 2/2 with quick attack. Nightfall, give me Challenger this round. Level up, you've activated Nightfall 4+ times, and then she becomes a 3/3, and anytime either she enters and gains Nightfall, or with the Nightfall trigger, or whenever you activate another Nightfall card, give me +2/+0 and Challenger this round. Her champion spell is Pale Cascade, the 2-cost burst spell, give an ally +2/+1, and if you have Nightfall, draw 1. This is a great aggro/control piece. She can do a ton of damage fairly early on, and she levels up incredibly quickly in this deck, which will increase her damage output even more. So she's really great for that, but also because she gets Challenger so easily, she's really good at removing the bigger and scarier threats that your opponent might play, as well as basically setting up good blocks for you by pulling things that might be able to block something else, like an elusive unit or something that has 3 power to block a fearsome unit. You can pull it to Diana to force the other damage through. This also works well to clear threats and blockers without risking her because of the quick attack, so that's why it's such a good piece, because we'll be able to use her as removal multiple turns in a row, usually anyways, and she can dish out a ton of damage once she's leveled. You can get some crazy combos with, say, Cygnus to give her elusive, or Nocturne giving her fearsome, that if you could trigger Nightfall enough times, she can very quickly deal as much as 7 or more damage if she isn't blocked. So she could be really, really powerful for that. And more Pale Cascades off her champion spell is just phenomenal and help to level her. But in general, our deck loves it. It's good for keeping our units alive. It's good for forcing extra damage through. And if you can trigger Nightfall, it draws you more cards so you don't run out of cards, which is a big problem with other aggro decks. So more copies of Pale Cascade is just phenomenal for the deck. Then we have 3 copies of Nocturne. The 4-cost 5/3 with Fearsome. Nightfall, grant an enemy vulnerable and give enemies -1/-0 this round. Level up, you've attacked with 5+ Nightfall allies, and then he becomes a 6/4, and other allies have Fearsome. Whenever you play a unit, give enemies -1/-0 this round. His champion spell is Unspeakable Horror, the 2-cost fast spell, drain 1 from anything, and if you have Nightfall, create a random non-champion Nightfall card in hand. This is our penultimate payoff. It's very easy to get him leveled up because we have so many Nightfall creatures, and they don't even have to have triggered Nightfall for them to still count towards Nocturne. Like, if you play a Stygian Onlooker right off the bat without triggering Nightfall, it will still count as a Nightfall unit attacking. So it's super easy for us to level Nocturne in this deck, and then he's just a crazy finisher because we do have so many units and we do go so wide. The ability to give them all fearsome helps even our small units like Duskbringer, for example, become legitimate threats on their own. Not only that, but his ability to give something vulnerable so we can assign blocks how we want, or the fact that he has a ton of damage himself, or the fact that playing units, which we play a lot of units, makes everything smaller so they can't block fearsome. It's just every bit of this card is great for what we're trying to do. And I mean, more Unspeakable Horrors aren't necessarily bad. It's not a great card, like, it's not the best card ever in our deck, but we do run 3 copies of it normally, so even more copies can be really good, especially for getting more Nightfall cards in hand to play if we're missing big payoffs or things like that. So that's not too bad on its own, so it's just a really, really good finisher for our deck that does everything we want it to. Next we have the follower package. This starts with 3 copies of Lunari Dustbringer, the 1-cost 2/1. When summoned, create a Dust Petal Dust in hand. This is an aggressive 1-drop that heavily enables Nightfall units. This is definitely our best turn 1 play in almost any situation. I mean, Solari Soldier's also good, but like, this sets up our turn 2 Shadestalker, which is the best turn 2 we could ask for. So, or turn 2 Diana. Either one of those, it sets up really, really well. And without having Dustbringer, it is pretty hard for us to pull off a turn 2 Nightfall unit. So this is our best turn 1 play in most circumstances. And Dust just works so well to trigger Nightfall, but even if we don't have the Dust and we're just playing this, it's a 1-drop unit, so that's also really good for playing to trigger Nightfall on its own. Then we have 3 copies of Solari Soldier. The one costs 2/2. Daybreak, give me +1/+1 this round. This is a hyper aggressive 1-drop. It is our highest potential damage. Well, it is typically our highest potential damage turn 1. The exception we'll talk about on the next card, but usually speaking, this is the most damage we can do on turn 1. It can block Fearsome the turn we drop it if we're using on the defensive, and it's a cheap unit, so it sets up Nightfall really well, like the Dustbringer as being a 1-drop unit, so you can play that plus a 2-cost elusive or Nightfall unit. So that's also really good for it. Then we have 3 copies of Stygian Onlooker. The one costs 2/1. Nightfall, give me +2/+0, and Fearsome this round. This is a very powerful 1-drop, especially if you can trigger Nightfall. Since it gains Fearsome, it's likely to get damage through, and this can give you some absolutely crazy turn 2s if you have, say, Dust Petal Dust to make the first Stygian Onlooker free, and then play a second one, then that's 8 damage right there with Fearsome, so it's very hard for your opponent to block it. And even without Nightfall, it is a powerful 1-drop that leads to leveling Nocturne. Like we said, we can swing even if it hasn't triggered Nightfall, and it will still count towards Nocturne. Also, technically speaking, this is the highest potential damage turn 1 play. We do have Fading Memories in the deck, so you could say Fading Memories your opponent's unit if they play something on turn 1, just to trigger Stygian Onlooker to swing with it. That's almost never going to be the right play, but technically speaking, this is the highest damage you can do on turn 1 because you can do up to 4 damage. Then we have 3 copies of Lunari Shadestalker. The 2-cost 2/3 Nightfall, grant me elusive. This is honestly probably the best 2-drop in the deck since it comes with evasion and a ton of health. The big problem here is you don't want to play this card without Nightfall at basically any cost. It's almost never worth it as a 2-mana 2/3. Like, you pretty much, I would sooner play a Crescent Guardian as a 3/3 with Overwhelm than play this as a 2/3 with nothing. So you almost always need some way to turn it on, so it can be hard to land it on turn 2 in many cases, but it's just such a great card once you do get it. Since it is elusive, it's so hard to be blocked, and 3 health means it survives a lot of things like Avalanche, Withering Wail, etc. So it's just a great all-star for the deck. Then we have 3 copies of Mountain Goat. The 2-cost 3/2. Strike, create a gem in hand. This is a great Nightfall enabler because A, it's a low-cost unit, but also, if it manages to connect at least once, it gives you Gem, which is a great way to trigger Nightfall since it's burst speed, so you can use it right away and then play your Nightfaller. It pumps one of your units, so it's really great on, say, Shadestalker to make it a 3/3 or a 4/3 if you've got more, and just keep increasing the damage output. So that's really, really great. But it also has a great body. It's a 3/2. It can deal a ton of damage on its own, so it's a legitimate threat on its own. And the gem's healing can actually be very useful for us on a number of occasions if they have hit us with stuff like Avalanche, Mystic Shot, etc. Just keeping our Shadestalker alive past the removal can be huge. Then we have 3 copies of Crescent Guardian, the 3-cost 3/3 with Overwhelm, and Nightfall, grant me +2/+0. This is a strong threat at 3 mana, and it is essentially pseudo-evasive since it has Overwhelm to force the damage through. So it can be a great body. A 5/3 for 3 mana is nothing to sneeze at for sure. And Overwhelm makes it not that bad without Nightfall if you have to play this first to trigger Nightfall for other things, because we can still always pump its power with things like Pale Cascade, and since it has Overwhelm, that's always going to be useful for us, no matter whether it got the +2 or not. Then we have 3 copies of Doombeast, 3-cost 3/2, Nightfall, drain 2 from the enemy Nexus. This is another absolute bomb for a deck because the drain is so good. Not only does it keep us alive, but it also burns our opponent out, so we can close out even if they've managed to build up a wide board of blockers. Drain helps to burn out our opponent when they've basically stalled us out, essentially. And this combos so well with a number of other cards, but I'll talk about that when we get to Fading Memories. And this can block Fearsome on its own. It has 3 power, so if we can give it Fearsome with something like Nocturne, it's a ton of damage through that too. So it's just good on many, many levels, although 3 cost does make it a little bit hard to play for us, especially with Nightfall, but it's primarily a finisher for us, so that's not really that bad. And then finally, we have 1 copy of Cygnus, the Moonstalker, the 6-cost 5/3, Nightfall, give me and an ally elusive this round. This is our last-ditch finisher. It's basically just a silver bullet to win out of nowhere into certain matchups. Since he gives himself and another big threat evasion, this can really just win a game that you had no other hope in, essentially. This is particularly great with leveled up Diana because you can trigger Nightfall a couple of times, make her like a 7/3, then give her flying with this, and that's 12 damage right there essentially if you can get her up to 7 power at the very least. So this can just win you the game out of nowhere, but it is a bit fragile since he only has 3 health. You do kind of need another big threat for it to really pay off, and at 6 mana, it's very hard to trigger elusive and then play him. You have to have the right combo of things, and by the time you're playing a Cygnus, you've probably run down a lot of your resources. Now let's look at the spell package. This starts with 3 copies of Fading Memories, the 0-cost burst spell. Pick a follower, create an ephemeral copy of it in hand. This is a free Nightfall trigger at burst speed. Since it costs 0, it won't cost us anything else. You just have to have a unit, or your opponent has to have a unit on the board. This can copy your own units or your opponent's, so sometimes if your opponent plays something that's really, really good, then you can always copy that and take that instead of one of your own units. But it's also really great for duplicating bombs like Doom Beast, for example, or Stygian Onlooker in the early game can be pretty big, though that is always a risky play since it only has 1 health. But the big, big payoff is Fading Memories, seeing your own Doom Beast, and just getting even more drain triggers. So this card can be really, really nuts, though again, because it needs to have a unit in play, and that unit becomes ephemeral, so it doesn't last, that does make it kind of a bit fragile, but it's still our best Nightfall enabler. Then we have 3 copies of Pale Cascade, the 2-cost burst spell, give an ally +2/+1 this round, and if you've triggered Nightfall, draw 1. This is a cheap burst speed pump spell. With Nightfall, it can cantrip too to keep your hand full so we don't run out like other aggro decks often can. And it can be used to increase damage, such as pumping a Diana, or even saving a unit if you have to pump something that's about to take, say, 1 damage. If they Withering Wail and we have a 1 health unit, we can always use this to force even more damage through. Or just use it on, say, their Grasp of the Undying, leveled up Diana, or a Shadestalker. We can use this to get past the Grasp and also deal extra damage. So it's just an all-around pretty great flexible spell at only 2 mana. We can always use it to trigger Nightfall because even if we can't draw off this, it's still really good. So it's just an all-around solid spell for the deck. Then we have 3 copies of Stalking Shadows, 2-cost burst spell. Pick a follower from the top 4 cards in your deck, draw it, shuffle the rest into the deck, and create an ephemeral copy in hand. This is another great cheap Nightfall enabler that fills your hand with more cards and can double powerful effects like Doom Beast and Cygnus. If you get either one of them, you'll get an ephemeral copy as well. And yeah, it'll only last 1 turn, but even an ephemeral copy of Cygnus is really, really good. And Doom Beast is one of the best hits we can get because that's just even more drain over and over again. And the more and more drain we get, the better. So this is just a great way to do that. And you can always bank your turn 2 mana and then go into turn 3, Stalking Shadows, play a bunch of Nightfall cards. So this is one of our better ways to trigger Nightfall since it does everything our deck wants, fills our hand with more things, it duplicates those things, and also just triggers the Nightfall. And then finally, we have 3 copies of Unspeakable Horror, the 2-cost fast spell, drain 1 from anything, and if you have Nightfall, create a random non-champ Nightfall card in hand. This can be used to finish off our opponent since it can also hit the Nexus, unlike Vile Feast, but generally speaking, this functions as a great removal spell for other aggro decks, particularly things that are going to be playing stuff like Legion Saboteur or Jury Rig or Daring Poros. This will kill them while also gaining us life, which is great. And if we've managed to trigger Nightfall, this is going to keep filling our hand with other payoff cards, which is great as well. And in a pinch, at 2 mana, this can be used just to set up Nightfall for other cards. Now let's look at some of the flex spots. We can drop 1 to 2 Unspeakable Horrors for 1 to 2 Shroud of Darknesses, the 1-cost burst spell. The next time you summon an ally this round, give it +1/+0 and spell shield this round. This is less interaction, but it does give us a more protected win, essentially. It's a good Nightfall enabler since it only costs 1 mana and boosts whatever triggers the Nightfall. But it also pumps damage, even though it's only +1, that's still something, and it lets you wombo combo more, because if you Shroud of Darkness then play Cygnus, at least you know the Cygnus will be protected through a 1 removal, so they'll need to double up removal. So that does help to boost our deck's ability to fight through control cards. So it's just another card. If you're facing more control, this will be worth more than Unspeakable Horror will. Or we can always replace 3 copies of Mountain Goat with 3 Cursed Keepers. The 2-cost 1/1 can't block. Last Breath, summon an Escape Abomination. This is another good Nightfall enabling body, much like Mountain Goat. It's only a 1/1, but your opponent will almost never want to kill it or block it, so it should force damage through a lot. And it's more resilient to removal, because if they do kill it, we get an even better unit out of it. And it's a great payoff to Fading Memories or Stalking Shadows, since ephemeral copies are actually in many ways better than non-ephemeral copies, because that gives us a guaranteed escaped abomination. So this is another thing you can replace it with. It doesn't give you gems, so it doesn't give you even more ways to trigger Nightfall, but it is a strong body on its own that can get very scary very quick in combos with some of our other pieces. Also, you can always replace the 3 goats with 3 Lunari Priestesses. The 3 cost 2/1, Nightfall, Invoke. This can potentially pull some Silver Bullet wins out of nowhere, essentially. You can grab things like Comet to deal with, say, Starspring, or large Celestials like Great Beyond, or the Immortal Fire that would be great into control matchups. It might also find you only garbage, unfortunately, though, because it does invoke any cost, so it could just grab you all low costs when you really need high costs, so it's a very swingy card, but it does give you, in some ways, a better chance against, say, control decks, because you can grab these huge finishers that could be hard for them to deal with. Also, you can drop 1 to 3 Unspeakable Horrors for 1 to 3 Atrocities. The 6 cost fast spell, kill an ally to deal damage equal to its power to anything. This gives us a better finisher, essentially. It works really well against control decks, because then if they use, say, Vengeance or Ruination, we can Atrocity in response to deal a ton of damage. We can speed up our win as well with an extra fast kill, since we can swing with a bunch of units, get a bunch of damage through, and then fling something at them for that final bit of damage, so it can often catch opponents by surprise. This is another card that I would definitely take a harder look at if you are facing a lot of control on that specific day. And finally, you can always drop 1 or maybe 2 Unspeakable Horrors for 1 to 2 Hushes. The 2 cost Burst Spell, silence a unit this round. It's an answer to random problem cards, whether this is stripping elusive off blockers so you can get through, or stat buffs off blockers to clear the way for fearsome attacks, or obviously this is a great answer for Lee Sin. We're generally favored in the matchup anyways, but this does give us a little extra oomph to deal with them, and this can always be used to enable Nightfall fairly easily as well, so this is a decent include, but one I generally would try to avoid since it doesn't really help our game plan, and there would be some matchups where it isn't worth that much. Now let's talk about some basic mulligans. You want to look for aggressive hands with Nightfall enablers. You always want to keep at least 1 to 2 1-drops, and then you want to look for turn 2 Shadestalkers or Dianas, meaning some way that you can play them on turn 2 with Nightfall active, because that will be very powerful if you're attacking that turn, or in the case of Shadestalker, that's just a really powerful turn 2 no matter what. So you would love to keep something like Dustbringer into turn 2 Shadestalker. That's a great hand into pretty much any matchup. You want to keep Dianas where you'll need to control the board, or Doom Beast when you're going to be racing, though you don't want too many high costs in the race matchups, because even if you're keeping a lot of powerful cards, if you can only play one thing a turn, you're generally going to lose the aggro matchup for the race. You almost never want to keep Cygnus because he's very hard to pull off, essentially, so he's just kind of a good top deck and not really a good thing to have in your hand. And honestly, you can often pitch Crescent Guardian too, because it's not your best turn 3. Like, often it'll be even better to go, say, like, turn 3 Diana Stygian Onlooker if you can trigger Nightfall on both. So it's kind of one of the weaker cards in the deck, but you can often keep it. You just don't want too many 3 costs, so when in doubt, that's what I would pitch sooner than a Doom Beast, for example. And then you want to kind of try to split your hand 50-50 Nightfall cards and ways to activate them. Pale Cascade can also be good against damage-based removal decks. So you just want to look for a hand that's fairly well balanced between Nightfall and ways to turn it on, while also keeping very aggressive with relatively low-cost units. And that's the deck for this episode. You can find the deck code as well as the deck link in the description below if you want to try the deck out for yourself. Now let's jump into the matches. Alright, Bilge Spring. Okay, so we just need to be faster than their combo. So Fearsome and Elusive should be good here. So that's what we're really looking for. That's what we want the most. And there we go. Have it right there. That's turn 2 Shadestalker. Not bad. Stalking Shadows would be a good way to trigger further Nightfall. And Doom Beast is a decent way to close out. So I think we probably keep that too. I think we can keep this full 4. Obviously, turn 1, we're going Dustbringer. We'll probably get 2 damage here, because chances are, even if they have Cadre, they won't want to trade it. So, oh, and they don't even have the 1-drop. Perfect. Thing we're most scared of, Boxtopus, that's what we really don't want to see. That would change our turn here. Yeah. So, we're just going to pass. Yep. Okay, I had a feeling he might do that. That's fine. Ooh, we can actually go for all this. Is that worth it? I don't think it is, actually. I think we'd rather go soldier here. So this is probably going to die to Boxtopus, but at least we'll get the attack in here. If we played it last turn, it would have died, and that's the worst thing that could happen. Alright, so you can only block one of these. Yeah, that makes the most sense. But that still means we get a bunch more damage through, and that is what we are looking to do. The problem here is that he's going to kill our Shadestalker, and we're not going to be able to kill Boxtopus, so that's unfortunate. Are we willing to block this Soraka? Not really. Not at this point. Oh, we can actually... Alright. Yeah, perfect. So I can Mountain Goat here, plus probably Crescent Guardian's the best play here. Let's see if he plays any other units. Ooh, that was the worst possible thing to happen to us. Yeah, I didn't think about that one. But, yeah, that's their best card for the matchup, so... see if we can get through it. Ooh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Alright, yeah, we'll go for Nocturne here. Well, that's not the worst find. Dustbringer's actually not that bad because we get more value out of the ephemeral copy. Oh, yeah, I guess we kill this, don't we? I thought about giving it to the Boxtopus, but I think we're better off making sure we can kill that. Although that does leave our Nocturne up to being killed next turn, potentially, to Boxtopus. We'll probably hit him with the Crescent Guardian, I think. Your time will come. Well, maybe not. Yeah, we're making our opponent think big on this one. I suppose Nocturne is guaranteed damage, so we should just have a hit with all 5. Unless he plays another Boxtopus here. What's he got? Ooh, that is a punish for not giving vulnerable to Boxtopus. Okay, well now that we no longer get that. You know what? Alright. So what we'll do here... so we pull this, and that should get a fair amount of damage through. Yeah, and we get a free gem out of this, because Mountain Goat lives.
Go no further.
Okay. But is he willing to trade? No, he's not willing to trade, which means Nocturne gets a ton of damage through. Ooh, Mountain Goat does die. That's unfortunate. Alright, well, we drop him to 10. He'll go to 13. And hopefully we can find another Nocturne. I should have killed this Boxtopus. That was a mistake on my part. That was, without a doubt, a pretty critical misplay. I mean, at least the Broadback does die here, which is ideal, but we really needed Boxtopus to be dead. Oh, please don't tell me he can actually kill Nocturne and live. Oh, Lord. Oh, what a misplay. Oh, that's unfortunate. That is... wow, that is actual backbreaking. Alright, well, let's get out as many things as we can, I guess.
Only a fool would enter battle.
Maybe double Doom Beast here? Okay. That really does not do as much. Well, maybe we don't double Doom Beast here. Maybe we'd rather have Mountain Goat. Actually, I can't do Beast. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this would drop it to 2, but I can't cast this and play that at 2. Oh my lord. Alright, yeah. I mean, the luck is with our opponent tonight. Okay. I think we do this, and we just full swing. And see what our opponent does. Maybe we can surprise him with the Doom Beast.
You pay first. You're in for a woman.
Okay, that'll drop him to a low total. Alright, well, I mean, that does still kill Boxtopus. But this will kill us, and not in any slow amount of time. That will kill us incredibly quickly. Alright, well, I mean, we have Nightfall, so I guess we will drain our opponent, get ourselves back up to full health, and hope he's drawing blanks. And he's not, so... Alright, Ashe mid-range. This is definitely not a great matchup for us, because they can block fearsome. I guess we're looking for elusives and hoping to dodge Reckoning. Crescent Guardian's alright, but pretty weak still. Yeah, I guess we keep that, and I think I'll pitch, well, maybe we keep Goat? No, I'm pitching that. We need to do better than this hand. This hand's really bad. Stygian Onlooker. Oh, perfect, okay. That's the first good thing that's happened. Alright, turn 1, 3 damage. That is the best thing that could happen for us there. Alright, and that's why we mulligan the cards. We were looking for some aggro. Ooh, that could actually be potentially good. Alright, perfect. We bank some Stalking Shadows mana. Ooh, maybe we would rather do this, though.
We were peaceful.
Let's go wide, I think. How worried are we of Avalanche? I think we can play Diana here.
Light within the darkness. Yours is a light I cherish, Moon Sister.
Does this deck run Avalanche? Alright.
No more lies.
Yeah, we'll swing for 6. We're home for, like, Culling Strike. Okay, perfect.
Our light grows
There we go.
brighter.
Alright, now we hit him for more. Hopefully he doesn't have anything else. He could have maybe Brittle Steel on her. But, oh yeah, okay. Alright, well, he lost 2 cards for it. We drew a card off the cantrip. We still get 4 damage through. It's not that bad. Unfortunate, but not that bad, all things considered. Cygnus could actually win us the game at some point, out of nowhere. So that's actually not a bad find. I think we might just Dustpile Dust Crescent Guardian this turn. Depending on what our opponent plays.
Winter take you.
Okay. I think we're maybe decisions. Maybe we just Stalking Shadows. See what we can find. Not much. Okay, and then we'll pass. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So we'll play Soldier.
Ours is the one true light.
Now we can Crescent Guardian plus Stygian.
Many tribes under one.
Yeah, that's fine. So Stygian, then Crescent Guardian. I mean, he probably has more Frostbite. That's the biggest thing we're worried about here. Yeah, just full swing, I guess. See how much we get punished here. We can save Stygian. I don't think we're willing to take that risk, though. I mean, our opponent is trading their full board in. That's kind of the most ideal thing that could happen. We have this Soldier in hand to trigger Nightfall. Fading Memories could be good too. I mean, we're thinking Cygnus the following turn. Decisions. Okay, I think we're going to Dust Petal Dust, and we're going to Unspeakable Horrors, because I want to see if we can get something better. We're looking for something good that's Nightfall that we can play this turn into Cygnus next turn. And Duskrider's actually not that bad. Considering where we're at right now, Duskrider is pretty solid. Yeah, I mean we'll play the Duskrider. Bank this 1 mana. Well, I can't Diana plus Cygnus. Okay, we'll play Solari Soldier. See what we can fool our opponent into playing. Ugh. Well, that was one of the better things. He could do that. 2. We're still gonna Cygnus here. And I guess we're just giving it to giving it to the soldier instead. Oh, hey! I guess he didn't have any more frostbite, so that's wow, a little bit of a surprise. Didn't expect to win that matchup, but there you go. All right, using elusives primarily there. Yeah, just try to run our opponent down, and that time we got there. Okay, Bilgewater PZ Ezreal TF. This is the second time I'm seeing this deck. Are people back to playing this? I guess we want to be aggressive here. Diana could be good. I think Crescent Guardian's bad. Fading Memories. Man, I don't think it's good, but keeping this with no Nightfall triggers is sketchy. But Pale Cascade is good. Alright. Alright, no, I'm gonna pitch it. They're often going to be lining up removal point for point. Ooh, not finding a... Well... I was going to say, not finding a 1-drop is bad for us, but that's not really the 1-drop I had in mind. They could have Thermogenic. Alright. Yeah. This is the bad half of our deck. But anything we play dies. Like that's just a guaranteed. Wow. He's got more Nightfall creatures than we do. Tempting to save Goat till next turn, but I'm reasonably confident that I can do this and get a gem out of it. Okay. Now, do we play this? I think we do. I think the chance that gets damage through on the turn it drops is extremely unlikely. He has like a ton of ways to kill it. So I don't think it's really feasible to count on that. Although maybe I should just play Diana Shadestalker. Nocturne is likely to get damage through, but I think it's too early for Nocturne here. Man, this has been a really awkward Nightfall hand. You know what? I'm gonna play non-Nightfall Diana. Because I kind of want to gem buff a Shadestalker. Let's see what my opponent has.
My patience wanes.
This is definitely a good example, though, of how Nightfall can really screw you over. Because we are having such a hard time actually triggering Nightfall. What's he got? Parlay. That's fine. That I'm not worried about. How worried am I about? Well, no. Alright, we'll pump the Diana so she can kill Grifter if he blocks. And swing like this. See if our opponent has the Mystic Shot. I kind of wanted to save Gem because we could use it to trigger Nightfall on a further round, but I wanted to be able to get a little more damage through because we've been going too slow. And that will really mess things up for us. However, this turn I can Stalking Shadows plus Doom Beast plus Shadestalker, so that is pretty good. And that's the card he got from our deck, which honestly not that bad for us. Well, we found that seems almost like a whiff, but we did need some sort of Nightfall enabler, and that is exactly that. And now we have something we can block with, because we don't need to keep this. As tempting as it is to keep it just to have a Fading Memories thing that we can target, I think it's worth blocking. Yeah, we'll just block like this, save ourselves a little bit of health. And clear one of our opponent's blockers. Alright, and then we get Shadestalker. And next turn we're set to go like Soldier, Soldier, Nocturne.
And follow no false light.
Okay. I think that's fine. Okay. Nab heavy. Scary, but we have a lot of cheap things. I guess we probably don't play the second soldier. We probably play one soldier plus Stygian plus Nocturne. We're trying to bait our opponent into doing stuff before we land the Nocturne. We don't want them to know that we have, or we don't want them to know that we have Nocturne. Yeah, so we'll play Onlooker. Oh man, if our opponent does something with that mana, then we could actually just win the game right here. Okay. Okay. I think we might be able to win now. So we have to do this, and we have to give him vulnerable. Everything else is going to get minus, so it won't be able to block, because when he attacks, or when everything attacks, everything will get fearsome, so this Diana will hit. So I think that is lethal. And we pull him over here. Nocturne levels up. All of our units get fearsome. He can't block anything. He has no mana. That should put him to like -20. -9. I think we win. That might be an early GG, but yeah, no, there we go. Alright. Well, he stole our cards, played a bunch of them for fun, and died for it. Yeah, that's about as good as that could possibly go for us, I think. And also, we saw exactly the worst part of the Nightfall deck when you can't find Nightfall, and we also saw the best part of the Nightfall deck, where you get a turn like that. Alright, Trundle Soul Ramp Control. So, obviously we're the aggro deck, so we want to run this down as fast as we can. Diana can be good if we're attacking on turn 3, which we're not. Mountain Goat is great here. Mountain Goat is great. Solari Soldier, I think we'll actually keep it, even though we don't have a great use for it right now. Pale Cascade could be good, but probably not. And I think Fading Memories, yeah, I think we're looking for payoffs at this point. Well, I mean, Doombeast can help close out. Alright, well, we'll play the Soldier, I guess. Although we don't get to use that extra damage, I think it is still our better play here. And we'll play Mountain Goat. See what our opponent has. Alright, well, that's 5 damage. And a gem for the next turn. Let's see what my opponent does. And apparently the answer is nothing. So we'll actually pass and swing again. Because here's the thing. My opponent almost certainly has Avalanche. To do a pass like that, doing nothing on that turn, they almost certainly have Avalanche. And the punish for that is to just swing. Yeah, there's Catalyst. Alright, so we've already... Yeah, so we'll Doom Beast. Drain him. And we have this Fading Memories to get more. Now they can start playing big stuff. But if they do, then we can zoo the board. They could go for a board wipe. Okay, they're gonna go for the board wipe. So we will copy this Doom Beast, because I don't think we can find much better than that. And then we'll play Shadestalker, I think.
Darkness hides in my
Probably Diana as well. Yeah, we'll play Diana. Decisions. I don't think he has removal for Shadestalker here.
For truth.
Yeah, I think we just go for this.
Find your path in the dark and follow no false light.
Could have Frostbite. Harsh winds would be the worst case scenario for us. Ooh, Nocturne could be good. Yeah, assume he has to block there. Okay, so we get 5 damage through. Maybe we should have gemmed on the Diana, so that would have killed Weirding Stones. Maybe that would have been the better play, but... Alright, we'll Doom Beast. Drain our opponent. That's the Fading Memories copy he knows we have. Because I don't actually care about blocking. So I'd rather he not know that we're holding more Doom Beasts.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty sparkle fly.
He got rid of the Behold, right? Yeah. Oh, Voice is the old one. Okay, he's full on ramp. Ooh, that is pretty good. That is pretty good. Let's see what we can find off Stalking Shadows. If we find the third Doom Beast, we win the game right here on the spot, pretty much. But probably don't. Ooh, Crescent Guardian is good. Yeah, we'll take Crescent Guardian. I guess we play Crescent Guardian too.
Come, arise in our time of need.
See what our opponent does. Our goal here is to play Nocturne and give vulnerable to Trundle. We definitely want this Shadestalker to live if we can help it. Because that alone is lethal. Okay. Mindstalker is not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. Let's see. Okay, well in this case now our best option is to make one of his lower health things vulnerable.
Embrace the darkness.
Even a full moon has a dark side.
Now he has to find a way to kill her. Okay. Yeah. All right. I mean, we're gonna go for this, because that is lethal. See if he has an answer. We have these Pale Cascades, so okay. That's not that bad. Chances are we'll Pale Cascade without Nightfall, just to force a little extra damage through. Oh yeah, we need to. Because this will leave him at 4. Do we just fire this other Pale Cascade too? I think we might. Because that could be lethal. Okay. Put him to 1. Okay. I think we have it then, right? Oh no, he has the Tavern Keep. Ooh. Okay, what do we want to play then? I think we play Mountain Goat to have a blocker that's going to give us more damage potentially. Okay, and then that's who gets vulnerable. I'm fine with that. Oh man, we're so close. We are so close. We just need our opponent to not have any more life gain. Now, ironically, them not being able to kill Crescent Guardian is actually good for us. Yeah, I think we want the gem. I think we actually want a gem. Alright. Nocturne is dead. So sad. If he plays Aurelion Soul here, we win the game. We just have to hope our opponent is tempted. But again, this Crescent Guardian swinging into this can kill our opponent too. Potentially. Between the damage of that and also the Doom Beast. What's he got? I think we might have it. I think the Doom Beast Tribal might be enough. Oh, and there we go. He did not have a guiding touch, and that will do it. The Doom Beast surprise. That was a little bit closer than we'd like, but you know, we will take it. Alright, and this time it'll be War Mothers, Ledros, something like that. Freljord's Shadow Isles control for sure. The one nice thing about our deck compared to... Ooh, and this is a great start right here. I think we even keep the Pale Cascade. I think we can get rid of Mountain Goat, though. I think we're fine losing that. But the big advantage of our deck over, say, Bilgewater Burn is the fact that things like Shadestalker survives their removal a fair bit better than Bilgewater Burn and Discard Aggro, which lose to Withering Wail and Avalanche pretty hard. Or Vile Feast. I do not expect to get any damage in with this Duskbringer. But we should hopefully be able to get this Shadestalker damage through.
Darkness hides in my path.
Oh, try for it. Interesting. I mean, we'll take we'll take that kind of damage. See, maybe posturing for... Okay, no, I'm not really sure what our opponent was going for there then. I think we probably go straight to combat. Oh, do we want to? I think it's actually worth keeping her alive at this point. Yeah, I think that's fine for us. I think we can. Ooh, I didn't really want Unspeakable Horrortron though. A little unfortunate though, because we were kind of hoping for Pale Cascade to kill this Weirding Stone if it blocked next turn, but this way we do still get 2 more damage in, so that's worth it. And we definitely go to combat here. He could have Withering Wail, but if he spends all of his mana Withering Wailing, that's good for us. And what we're really worried about is Avalanche. That's what we definitely didn't want to have happen. Do we actually just try to kill Weirding Stones? I don't think so. I think we just play Goat. I don't think we're scared of Weirding Stones yet. I think maybe this turn we might want to kill it. Ooh, Diana's good. How close is Diana to leveling? Do we trade the Goat in now? We might trade the Goat in now. Maybe the extra attacker's better. Yeah, we'll do this. Then we'll play Diana. Hope our opponent doesn't have Avalanche. Avalanche would be pretty bad, actually. I didn't think about that. Okay. That is not Avalanche yet. Yeah, this gets Diana to the point that she doesn't die to Avalanche. Do I drain anything now? That's another question. Avalanche? He's thinking about it! Okay. Extra blockers, that's fine. Actually, not extra blockers, we don't like that. Not in this neighborhood. Let's see what we can get off of it. Anything good? Well, if there was a matchup for Lunari Priestess to be good, it is the one we are currently in. What do we find? Not really worth it.
No more lies.
Yeah.
It's our time.
Yeah, we'll go like this. Big swing. What's he got?
I've carved meat bigger than you.
Kill spell? Kill spell for Diana, maybe?
You got a problem?
Withering Whale. Okay. What's my chance of actually being able to just kill my opponent here? If I do this, it'll drain 2 from my opponent and pump her to 5. So then he'll take 7 plus 2. He'll take 9. So he'll take 4 more than this, which will drop him to 9. It's probably better to kill that, right? Yeah. And buy 1 more turn before Trundle levels up. And we'll still get a ton of damage through. Double Priestess, interesting. I mean, potentially good. My opponent did not fall for the, for the Trundle blocking Diana killing Trundle thing. We were really hoping he would. Okay, well, this isn't too bad. We can play Soldier and then play out some other stuff. Stuff that loses to Whale pretty hard, but okay, yeah, we could take that damage. We'll probably play Priestess first, just to see what we find. Okay. That's fine. What do we find? Yeah, Written in Stars isn't awful, but neither is the Trickster. Man, honestly, these are all pretty good. I think we take the Elusive. Although we'll probably still play Shadestalker this turn. Okay, Avalanche, killing almost all of my stuff. Okay, well in that case, we're gonna play Priestess, I think. And invoke something else. Still not good though. I mean, this could be good. Supernova might do some work. Although we're unlikely to have another Celestial in hand, so now is really the time to do it.
Raise your weapon, Sunwit.
Well, let's see what he has. What he goes for here. Yep. Not too surprised by that. And then we'll probably play Shadestalker. We lose the opportunity to Supernova this turn, but
May her silver light enshroud us.
okay, so I think we swing like this, and we do the most damage to the Ice Pillar that we can. And we'll lose one of our 2/1s. We might even have, like, Withering Whale. Okay, so we're gonna get some damage through. We are in pretty rough shape, though. I mean, that's what this deck is designed to do, is be aggro, and the whole point of this deck is that we're supposed to do better than Bilgewater Burn, but that does not mean that we are favored. Okay, yep, that's worst case scenario for sure. Bright side, opponent's almost out of cards. Best case scenario, he plays like Ledros this turn. Okay, that's not what we were looking for. All right. I'm really trying to get something else with this. All right, we're just gonna go for it. It will just obliterate the Trundle. Ideally with Lunari Priestess, what you're looking for is a win con. You're looking for one of the big Celestials, like the Scourge, Immortal Fire, etc. which obviously that's not what we got. So that's unfortunate. We probably actually just die here, don't we? Yeah, I mean, we probably die in the next turn to his attack if he just swings. Because he doesn't even need to play Ice Pillar at this point, so he can leave it in his hand. Extremely unlikely to win from this point. Let's put it that way. We are extraordinarily unfavored right now. We're still doing better than Burn would have done in this circumstance, but that really is not saying anything. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's... Yep, that's miserable is what that is. Alright, well, we'll play this to block that so we don't die to Stygian Onlooker. Again, though, we don't know how many things he has in hand. That's really going to be the deciding factor. Yeah, so... Well, we don't have to... Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't have Daybreak. I don't know what I was thinking. Alright, I mean, we live. So far. Does he have Atrocity? I mean, he's definitely playing Atrocity in that deck. What could we even draw? I'm not... Well, I mean... That's not the worst draw, I suppose. It's pretty bad, though. Yeah, alright, there's the game, yep. Yep, I mean, that deck is designed to beat aggro, and there we go. We held our own a little bit, but unlucky Priestess draws, and our opponent did find pretty much the perfect cards. Perfect combination of board wipes and instant speed removal, so... Oh well, on to the next. Alright, so how did we do? We went 3-2 in our matches. I wasn't entirely sure which games I wanted to play, so I wasn't going to include the Bilgewater Spring deck originally, but then I would have had back-to-back losses to Freljord Shadow Isles Trundle. I think both were Ledros shells, but they could have been War Mother. Either way, they're both bad matchups, and I didn't want to include it because they play exactly the same. So I included the Bilgewater Spring one because I wanted to show you how that matchup goes. I didn't really want to use that game because I think it was much more a personal misplay than actually how the matchup's supposed to go, but that's how narrow those games can be, is that they can be decided by that little bit. Might have been a bit of an early scoop. My apologies. Like I said, I was actually planning to not use that video because of... I'm not sure it really represents the matchup really well, because I think that was a lot of personal mistakes, but to be fair, I am 1-2 on that matchup, so maybe it is a bad matchup, maybe it is fairly representative, and it's also very possible my opponent killed me that turn. I haven't actually done the math, but from healing Soraka and Boxtopus, it would have pumped Star Shepherd to, I think that's 9 with Trample, and then I could have blocked, but I think I take 11 regardless. I think no matter what happens, I take 11 damage, which means I think that was lethal, or it's pretty... Oh no, it wasn't quite lethal yet, but we were pretty much guaranteed to lose the game at that point. But I wanted to show you a different matchup, so that's why the games are the way they are. Again, apologies that video is so short. Total, though, with the deck, currently I'm 11-9, so that's a 55% win rate. But I do think a lot of those games, or at least 2 games I could think of right off the top, are definitely personal mistakes, and actually probably 3 if we count that Bilgewater Spring game, which I think that was a big misplay, but we might have still lost anyways. But there are the win rate would be higher. It should be as high as 65% or higher in this case, which I think is actually pretty exceptional. I think where the meta is right now, it's pretty hard to go above a 60% win rate without just playing a bunch of games in one day and then never touching the deck again. So I do think, specifically to give some examples, I played the TF Ezreal game, the deck we saw. I played it a first time before this, and I lost, and it was really off the dumbest mistake. It was pretty funny. They were at 4 health. I had 2 Shadestalkers. One was a 2/1, one was a 2/2. It's possible they have removal to kill them, but I have Pale Cascade in hand, and I think possibly another way to pump. Either way, though, they had no elusive blockers, so chances are they can't kill both of them, and one of them's lethal with Pale Cascade to get the difference, and there's no way they gain life. So I played Nocturne, they warning shot, Riptide Rex, kill my board, then I don't have enough fearsome to get through, and I lose the game the next turn. So that was a huge misplay. I got greedy. I wanted to play the Nocturne. He was already leveled up, and giving everything fearsome, my opponent wouldn't have been able to block anything. It would have been great. It would have been awesome, but it was so greedy, and I got super punished for it. So that should have been an easy win. And in fact, my opponent had a Mystic Shot. That was the only thing he had left, because I ended up seeing it anyways, because he Mystic shot something just because he could. So I ended up seeing that too, and knowing that I had him dead if I played correctly, but unfortunately I did not. So oh well, that's that's what happens when you get greedy. So that was a loss that should have been a win. I also lost to dragons, which any time you lose to dragons with any deck is a feels bad moment. It was a really rough game. Their deck went very well, and I took a very risky line of play in which I Fading Memories and played a bunch of Stygians on turn 2 to swing for, I think it was a 10 damage swing, but they had the Dragon Guard Lieutenant, so they blocked the non-ephemeral one, and I lost most of my board right then and there. And then they curved nicely into dragons. They had no turn 3, but I think it was turn 4, turn 5, they landed Screeching Dragon, which was really bad for us, and followed it up with some other really good dragons. Plus they had Shyvana, and Shyvana flipped, so they were getting the single combat that she gets. But at one point, I was setting up the Cygnus lethal. I pumped my Nocturne to make it so that him and Shyvana would trade. They used the Concerted Strike to kill him. And if I had saved the Pale Cascade, I could have played the 3/3 with Overwhelm the next turn, and then played Cygnus, give it flying. I could have Pale Cascaded it. Even though it would have been a 3/3, I could have Pale Cascaded it to get it up to a 5/4, swung with both in the air for exact lethal. It's possible they could have killed in response, but it was still my better line of play. Not to mention, if I did do it right, I would have gotten to draw a card off Pale Cascade, which could have found something else that would have worked. So that one was kind of a mistake too. That one's more of a toss-up, could have gone either way. I think we would have won the Bilgewater Spring, or we would have been in a much better position to do so if we had killed Boxtopus rather than going for killing the Broadback Protector. So yeah, there's a couple of games. I think the win rate could be better than what it is. That said, to give a quick synopsis on the meta, I think you could... It's very coin flippy. If aggro is the flavor of the day, you can definitely get a 70% or higher win rate on Freljord Shadow Isle control. If it happens to be control that day, Zed Lee Sin or Lee Sin Diana, whatever the Lee Sin shell you're running is, I think that can get over a 70% win rate that day. And if they're playing Lee Sin, I think any burn deck like Nightfall can pull a 70% or higher win rate. But I think if you play a bunch of games on any deck for a series of days, you will be very hard-pressed to get anything that goes 60% or higher, no matter how skilled you are. Right now, with the meta the way it is, it really does. Matchmaker affects your win rate so heavily. And we had this before with the Noxus aggro meta, where everyone was playing Darrowing, or the Darius Harrowing deck that ran Basilisk Rider and the Scarlet unit that deals damage when it gets hit, before those two got nerfed. That deck was really coin flippy, because it was like you played control and you got aggro and you won, or you played control and you got a different deck and you lost, or you played aggro and you got a different deck, you won, or if you got control you lost. It was really hard to pull anything above 60%, and I ended up hitting Masters off the Darius aggro deck because you just grinded it out and hoped for the best, and that was your best bet because it was the fastest decks. That's why we have 2 aggro decks in a row. But the problem is, that meta kind of sucks, because no matter how skilled you are, it's going to really be heavily dependent on what matchup you get. So, sorry if my content has not been as good this week. I admit I have been a little too salty, and my win rate is a lot lower on this deck than it should be because of that fact. I've been playing a little bit tilted. Getting there now, figuring out where I want to be. Just wanted to say, sorry if my content's been a little weak this week. Really not a huge fan of this meta. But I suppose the nice thing is that no matter what kind of deck you want to play, if you're a combo player, aggro player, control player, there is a deck for you. But it's a rough meta. It's really the Lee Sin deck is what I hate the most, because of the fact that it crushes out so many other decks that could be viable but aren't because of Lee Sin. That's why I'm playing aggro. I really don't like losing that matchup. but I do think this deck is a very fun deck to play. I think it's in a decent spot right now. I think the Mountain Goat buff was actually really good for this deck because getting the gems off Mountain Goat are really good for enabling your Nightfallers. I do think this deck does have a little bit of an issue with having too many Nightfall cards and too few Nightfall triggers, so I think that's something to worry about. But all in all, I think it's a solid deck. I think it's pretty fun. I think if you're looking to play aggro, but you don't want to play the Bilgewater Burn list that's been around for forever, I think Nightfall Aggro is actually in a pretty good spot now. I think it's, ironically, I think it's in a better spot than when Call of the Mountain first released. Everyone was playing the deck, but I personally played the deck and thought it was pretty bad at the time. I thought there was much better decks, which is why I built the Bilgewater Targon aggro deck from back then, because it was really good then. I do think this is actually in a much better spot now. I think it's really good into the meta because the combination of aggro and life gain can be really good for winning matchups that are a little bit harder for other decks. So I think it's a great deck if you're looking for that. I do think you're still going to be hard-pressed to pull crazy win rates on any deck right now, but this is definitely a more fun deck to play that's still competitive in the meta than just forcing the Bilgewater Burn, Lee Sin / Trundle meta. So thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for more videos just like it.